It is 1944. The skies over Europe are a chaotic ballet of roaring engines and machine gun fire. The dominant aircraft of this era are propeller-driven fighters. Think of the British Supermarine Spitfire, or the American P-51 Mustang. These are incredible machines, the absolute pinnacle of piston engine technology. They can climb fast, turn on a dime, and are armed with cannons and machine guns. For a pilot in World War II, success was measured by their ability to get on an enemy's tail. It was a close-quarters, visceral kind of combat, where seeing your opponent with your own eyes was everything. These planes defined an entire generation of aerial warfare. But even as these propeller planes were ruling the skies, a new sound was beginning to emerge. It was a high-pitched scream, a sound of raw power unlike anything heard before. In Germany, engineers were perfecting a radical new engine. It didn't have propellers. Instead, it sucked air in, compressed it, mixed it with fuel, and ignited it, blasting hot gas out the back. This was the jet engine. The Messerschmitt Me 262 was the world's first operational jet-powered fighter. When Allied pilots first encountered it, they were stunned. It was so much faster than anything they had. It couldn't be caught. The war ended before the Me 262 could truly change its course. But the secret was out. The jet engine was the future, and everyone knew it. The 1950s and 1960s were dominated by the Cold War. It was an era of intense suspicion and technological competition between the United States and the Soviet Union. This rivalry fueled an unprecedented arms race in the sky. The primary goal was simple: go faster and fly higher than the other side. This led to the creation of the Century Series fighters in the US, like the F-104 Starfighter. This aircraft was famously described as a missile with a man in it. It was designed for one thing: raw speed and climb rate, meant to intercept high-altitude Soviet bombers before they could reach their targets. This obsession with speed and altitude pushed engineering to its absolute limits. Aircraft began to break the sound barrier not as a special event, but as a routine part of their mission profile. Mach 2, or twice the speed of sound, became the new benchmark. The Soviet Union responded with its own incredible designs, like the MiG-21, an agile and blisteringly fast interceptor produced in massive numbers. These second and third generation fighters looked like something out of science fiction. They had sharp, pointed noses, thin delta wings, and massive, powerful afterburning engines that could gulp down fuel at a terrifying rate to provide a short, sharp burst of incredible acceleration. However, a new kind of weapon was about to change everything again. The dogfights of the past involved getting close enough to use guns, but engineers were now developing guided missiles. Early versions, like the heat-seeking AIM-9 Sidewinder, meant a pilot no longer needed to be directly behind an enemy. They could launch a missile from miles away and let it guide itself to the target. This was a revolution. Suddenly, the most agile aircraft could be shot down by a less maneuverable opponent who simply had a better missile and better sensors to guide it. This led to a fascinating and dangerous paradox. As planes became faster, the combat distances became longer. The pilot's own eyes were no longer the most important sensor on the aircraft. That role was now being taken over by a new piece of technology: radar. A powerful radar set in the nose of a fighter could detect an enemy long before they were visible. It could then lock onto the target and feed that information to the new, long-range, radar-guided missiles. The dogfight wasn't dead, but it was now just one possible outcome of an aerial encounter that started dozens of miles apart. By the 1980s, the game had changed. If powerful radar could see you from 100 miles away, then speed and altitude were no longer the ultimate defense. The new frontier was not about being faster, but about being invisible. The question became, what if you could build a plane that radar couldn't see? This was the incredibly complex idea behind stealth technology. It wasn't about making a plane literally invisible to the eye, but making it invisible to the radio waves that radar systems use to detect targets. This required a complete rethinking of aircraft design. The result was one of the most secret and groundbreaking projects in aviation history, the F-117 Nighthawk. When it was finally revealed to the public in 1988, it looked like nothing that had ever flown before. It was a machine made of sharp, flat angles, a bizarre-looking geometric shape designed not for aerodynamic performance, but to deflect radar waves away from the emitter. This meant it was subsonic and not very agile, but it didn't need to be. It could fly directly over some of the most heavily defended areas on Earth without ever being detected. A true ghost in the machine. The F-117 was a strike aircraft, not a fighter. But the principles of stealth were quickly applied to the next generation of air superiority fighters. This led to the development of the F-22 Raptor, the world's first fifth-generation stealth fighter, which entered service in 2005. The F-22 combines stealth with incredible performance, supersonic speed without afterburners, extreme agility, and a suite of advanced sensors. This was the concept of first look, first shot, first kill. A pilot in an F-22 could detect, track, and engage an enemy aircraft long before the enemy pilot even knew they were there. It was a generational leap in capability. This era also saw the rise of the computer as the true co-pilot. The unstable, angular designs of stealth aircraft were often inherently difficult to fly. The F-117 was notoriously unstable and required constant computer corrections just to stay in the air. Modern fighters are the same. They use fly-by-wire systems where the pilot's controls are inputs to a computer, which then decides how to move the control surfaces for the desired outcome. The computer can make thousands of adjustments per second, keeping the plane stable and preventing the pilot from pushing it beyond its limits. The pilot was becoming a systems manager as much as a stick-and-rudder flyer. We are now in the era of the sixth-generation fighter, though most are still on the drawing board. The defining technologies of today and tomorrow are not just about the airframe itself, but about the data that flows through it. The modern fighter, like the F-35 Lightning II, is essentially a flying sensor and data hub. It can gather vast amounts of information from its own powerful radar and sensors, but it can also share that data in real time with other aircraft, with ships on the sea, and with troops on the ground. This sensor fusion gives the pilot unprecedented situational awareness. One of the biggest shifts is the integration of artificial intelligence and unmanned systems. The concept of a loyal wingman is becoming a reality. This involves a single piloted fighter flying into combat accompanied by a swarm of semi-autonomous or AI-controlled drones. These drones could act as scouts, carry extra weapons, or even sacrifice themselves to protect the piloted aircraft. AI algorithms can help the pilot by sorting through the flood of data, identifying the most critical threats, and suggesting the best course of action. The pilot's role is evolving again from systems manager to mission commander of a team of both human and machine. And then there is the renewed quest for speed. But this time, the goal isn't just Mach 2 or Mach 3. The new frontier is hypersonic speed, which is generally defined as anything over Mach 5, 5 times the speed of sound. At those velocities, the air itself can become a superheated plasma, and controlling an aircraft becomes an immense material science and engineering challenge. While hypersonic missiles are already a reality, developing a reusable, maneuverable hypersonic fighter jet is the next grand challenge. It's a goal that could once again completely rewrite the rules of air power. From the propeller-driven Spitfires of the 1940s to the AI-integrated, stealthy concepts of today, the evolution of the fighter jet is a story of human ingenuity pushed to its absolute limits. In just 80 years, we have gone from aircraft struggling to reach 400 miles per hour to machines that can disappear from radar, communicate with a global network, and are on the cusp of speeds that were once pure science fiction. The fighter jet is a testament to our relentless drive to go higher, faster, and further, and its next chapter is only just beginning to be written. The skies of tomorrow will be unlike anything we have seen before.